to that. I told you I'm going to just bring this thing. Many of you know who Chris Cuomo is, the Cuomo brothers. I am not a fan, okay? I'm not a fan, never have been a fan, but Chris Cuomo did something that I believe he deserves credit for. And it's kind of telling that he was not in on the gag to poison everyone because he ended up getting poisoned. Let's go ahead and show that newspaper. This is from did I say, is it Washington Times? The Washington Times. Chris Cuomo says he's been affected by long COVID, and it says, quote, I'm sick myself. He brings this guy on, and what happens is the New York Times printed a story by this man, Mr. Barkovage, Barcavage. And so Chris Cuomo brings him on, and he's telling his story. I mean, just kind of, I'm going to read a couple of paragraphs. So he brought him on the show, and here's what it says. Mr. Barkovage recounted his story, saying that since his first shot, since his first vax, his heart started racing every time he stands up, it says. He said he has had pain in his eyes, mouth, genitals, and that has since gone away, but continues to have tinnitus, which is that ringing in your ear. And here's a quote. He says, as soon as I was injured, 15, 20 minutes into my first dose, I had paresthesias, however, whatever that means, numbness and tingling up and down my injected arm that over the day spread to my face and my eyes, Mr. Barkovage said on the show. He said, I went to see a neurologist. He ran some tests, and he was like, quote, well, this is all new. We don't know much about it, but the hospital is going to mandate it. You should get a second dose. And I'm going, are you kidding me? You should get a second dose, he said, and everything in my medical mind and in my bones was telling me no. He said the pressure was too much, and he wound up getting a second dose. After that, everything blew up. Mr. Barkovage said, I went from being a healthy, 100% healthy, fully functioning nurse, that's his profession, to a complete downward spiral of health. I developed a myriad of symptoms, and it goes on and on. And then Mr. Barkovage is saying, if the government had just said, hey, these are novel vaccines, there will be reactions. Let's just have a program in place to deal with them, set up a fund, and obligate the manufacturers to provide or help or research. I think the citizens would have appreciated that. But instead, what happened was they suppressed me, he said. I'm sick myself, Mr. Cuomo said. And Cuomo goes on, I'm working with people who are working on this, he said, adding that he would never stop reporting on this. So again, Chris Cuomo, I haven't been a fan, but he's to be given credit where credit is due to speak up. I was looking at Telegram, and people were all commenting all over this about Chris Cuomo, and someone, I don't know who it was, I don't even know if it was on a Christian site or anything, but someone said, serves him right. And they went on that. No, that's not what we say here as believers in Jesus Christ, especially someone that's doing the brave thing and coming forward, admitting it. So I just wanted to share that with you and get into your thoughts on all that.
Yeah, it truly is. It's helpful for him to admit that in that kind of way. And it really seems it's going to require that from those who were pushing it in their own way. Because if you're on, as he was in the forefront of the media and actually telling everyone they should and all that, and if you suffer consequences of doing that, you should report on it. That's good that he's shown the bravery to do it. And this is something, we're always careful not to induce fear or say, if you had the vax, you have to have consequences.
Yeah.
It's astonishing that despite now just hundreds of thousands of cases of proofs and lawsuits going all around, we could do a whole episode one time, just all the nations that are going after those that imposed it on the people, health ministers and different things like that, that despite that, there's still, like, I was just reading yesterday, I think Aaron Rodgers, quarterback, it's like, well, have you learned your lesson on not being too vocal on the, he was like, he was not speaking highly originally of the COVID vaccine, and they want him to back off. Did you learn your lesson? You shouldn't say something about the vaccine. I'm like, are you all still in that much denial? There is there are so many athletes that are just dropping dead around the planet. That would be a whole nother episode just on that. But
Yeah.
and there's no other there's no other explanation. The one thing they seem to have in common is the fact that they had one or more of the vaccines. And so, and I think my last comment on it is, forever, if you have been injured in some way or have a family member injured in some way, do not just sit back. It's not about you telling, which would be
Yeah.
good. Lawsuits, like, I want to strongly recommend, is your step of justice. Multiple states are already allowing, if not sometimes information is hard to get clear. You have to get it repeated 2 or 3 times to make sure it's clear. But at least in multiple states, you now have a right to go after. There's different ones you have a right to go after as well. Get legal help, search it out, this is how the lesson gets learned forever. If there needs to be millions of lawsuits against those that push this on us, and it's for doctors who knew it wasn't safe. It's for those in the medical profession who, even once they knew it was not safe, and many of them have come out and said, I was slow to pick up on it, I'm sorry. And so that's good. But then at every level, whoever forced it on the American people, whoever forced it on the nations of the world, so this is not just for American people, but around the world, if you suffered a consequence of it, you had a family member that did, raise your voice, raise a lawsuit. This is how you partake of the justice process itself, because this was a big deal, what they tried to do, what they did, and how many they killed. And they still consider this part of their arsenal for their massive depopulation plan and agenda that they have.
Well, you're right. And this Mr. Barkovich, even his quote gives him away that he doesn't get it yet. He's saying, if they had just told us there's going to be some problems and we'll set up, he's still believing that these were just accidental. He's not accepted yet that this is a bioweapon. And I bet, soon enough, he probably will make that. I mean, I can't say for sure, but I want to say this too. I have loved ones that I care very much for who got vaxxed. And some of them have gotten multiple boosters. Some had only one booster, and then they stopped wisely. I have nothing but prayers that God will make them the exception to the rule, that they'll never have a symptom, and all of that. God forbid we should ever say it serves them right because they were critical of us. God forbid that we would ever say
no,
that.
We agree. For all listeners who have had no ill symptoms show up, may it remain so.
Yeah.
In Jesus' name. That's